Jake Torres floated in the silence of space, his welding torch casting orange sparks into the void. He was alone, just as he liked it. No crew to worry about, no friends to lose. Just him, his tools, and the endless graveyard of dead ships. The scrapyard belt stretched for millions of miles in every direction. Broken vessels from 100 different worlds drifted here like metal corpses. Most salvagers were afraid of this place. They said ghosts lived in the old ships. Jake didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in profit. His scanner beeped. Jake ignored it and continued cutting a power cell from a crashed freighter. The scanner beeped again, louder this time. "What is it, Arya?" Jake asked his ship's AI assistant. Unusual reading detected, Arya responded in her calm voice. Sector 773. Biosignature detected. Jake stopped working. Biosignature. That's impossible. Nothing lives out here. The reading is weak, but consistent. It appears to be ... a heartbeat. Jake's blood went cold. A heartbeat in the scrapyard belt meant someone was dying. Or worse, someone had been dying for a very long time. He pulled himself back to his small repair ship and checked the scanner himself. The signal came from deep inside the belt, from a section Jake usually avoided. The ships there were ancient, from civilizations that had fallen before humans even reached space. The radiation levels were dangerous. The structures were unstable. But the heartbeat was real. Arya identified the source vessel. The computer worked for several seconds. Ship classification: Celestial Empire. Age: approximately 300 years. Warning: radiation levels exceed safety limits. Jake's hands started shaking. Everyone knew about the Celestials. They were legends, myths, stories told to children. A race of beings who could live among the stars themselves. Their empire had been vast and powerful. Then one day, they simply vanished. Every celestial in the galaxy just disappeared. No one had seen a living celestial in 3 centuries. "This has to be a malfunction," Jake muttered. But the heartbeat continued, steady and slow. He stared at the scanner for a long moment. The smart thing would be to report this to the authorities. Let someone else investigate. Someone braver. Someone more qualified. But Jake had been doing the smart thing for 5 years now. Playing it safe. Staying alone. And where had it gotten him? Nowhere. Arya, plot a course to that ship. Warning: radiation will damage your suit systems within 30 minutes. Hull integrity of target vessel is compromised. High probability of structural collapse. Noted? Plot the course anyway. Jake's ship moved through the debris field like a needle through cloth. The ancient celestial vessel grew larger in his viewport. It was beautiful, even in death. The hull was made of some kind of crystal metal that still caught the distant starlight. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly. Jake docked on the least damaged section and checked his suit's air supply. 30 minutes, that was all he had. The airlock was frozen solid. Jake used his cutting torch to burn through it. The metal screamed as it split apart. Beyond the airlock was complete darkness. He activated his helmet light and entered the ghost ship. Everything inside was frozen. Ice covered the walls like white skin. Jake's breath made small clouds inside his helmet. The ship's corridors twisted in ways that hurt to look at. Celestial architecture didn't follow human logic. The heartbeat signal grew stronger. Jake followed it deeper into the ship, his boots crunching on ice with each step. His radiation detector began clicking faster. Then he heard something else. Whispers, they echoed through the frozen corridors. Speaking in a language Jake couldn't understand. He told himself it was just the ship settling, metal groaning against metal, but the whispers sounded like voices. Sad voices. Dying voices. Arya, are you picking up any audio signals? Negative. Your suit microphone detects only ambient noise and your breathing. The whispers continued. Jake's hands were shaking again, but he pushed forward. The corridor opened into a massive chamber. At its center, suspended in the air by invisible forces, was a crystalline pod. It was glowing. Jake approached slowly, his heartbeat now matching the one on his scanner. Inside the pod, he could see a shape, a person, an alien girl, her body perfectly preserved. Her chest was glowing with a soft, golden light, like a tiny sun burning beneath her skin. As Jake watched, the light pulsed, once, twice, each pulse weaker than the last. Then her eyes opened. They were filled with entire galaxies, swirling stars and nebulas and cosmic dust. Those impossible eyes focused on Jake, and her lips moved. "Help," she whispered. The pod exploded outward in a shower of crystal fragments. Jake stumbled backward, his boots losing magnetic grip on the floor. The alien girl collapsed forward, gasping for air that hadn't existed in this ship for 300 years. Her skin was pale blue, almost translucent. Through it, Jake could see the glowing light in her chest pulsing weakly. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't support her. Jake caught her before she hit the ground. She was surprisingly light, as if her bones were hollow. Her body temperature fluctuated wildly, hot as fire, one moment, cold as ice the next. The glow in her chest flickered like a candle in wind. "Can you hear me?" Jake asked. "I'm going to get you out of here." The girl's galaxy-filled eyes focused on him. She touched his helmet with one trembling finger, and suddenly Jake heard her voice inside his head. "Your language, I can feel it in your thoughts. Human, you are human." Jake's mind reeled. "You're telepathic. Only weakly now. My star is dying." She coughed, and light spilled from her mouth like liquid gold. "We must hurry." Jake didn't ask questions. He lifted her carefully and began running back through the frozen corridors. Behind them, the ship groaned. Metal shrieked against metal. The whispers grew louder, angry now. "They know I'm leaving," the girl said weakly. "The dead crew. Their echoes are angry." "Ghosts aren't real," Jake said, running faster. "Tell them that." They reached Jake's ship with 5 minutes of air remaining. He sealed the airlock and laid the girl on his medical bed. Arya immediately began scanning her. Species, unknown. Biology, unlike any recorded life form. Subject's core body temperature is 3,000 degrees Celsius. This should be impossible. Girl smiled sadly. "Nothing about my people was possible. That's why we're gone." Over the next hour, as Jake's ship moved away from the ancient vessel, the girl told her story. Her name was Lyra. She was the last daughter of the celestial royal house. "We were not born like your kind," she explained, her voice growing stronger. "As Jake's ship provided heat and energy, we were created. Forged. Each celestial child was given a gift at birth, a living star, placed inside our chest, where your heart would be." Jake stared at the glowing light beneath her skin. "That's actually a star. A young one. Newborn, it was supposed to burn for 10,000 years, powering my body, giving me life." Lyra's hand moved to her chest. "But mine is sick, poisoned. It's dying after only 300 years. She sat up slowly, and her body began to glow brighter. Holographic images appeared in the air around them. Jake saw incredible cities floating in space, buildings made of light and star matter, gardens growing on the tails of comets, beings with glowing chests dancing among nebulas. We were everywhere once, millions of us. We lived in peace, exploring the universe, creating beauty. The holograms shifted, showing something darker. Celestials collapsing, their chest lights going out. Then the void sickness came. It's a plague from the space between stars. It infected our star hearts, causing them to decay. The images showed entire worlds going dark, celestials dying by the thousands, their stars burning out like candles in a storm. My father, the Emperor, ordered all remaining celestials into stasis pods. He hoped someone would find a cure while we slept. Lyra's voice broke. But our ships were attacked. Scavengers wanted our technology. My ship was thrown in too. This graveyard. I've been sleeping here for 300 years, and my star never stopped dying. Jake checked his scanner. A countdown timer appeared on the screen. 43 hours. What happens in 43 hours? Lyra looked at him with those galaxy eyes. My star will collapse. And when a star dies, human, it doesn't just go quietly. It explodes. Everything within 10,000 miles will be destroyed. Your station, other ships, all the salvagers in this sector. There has to be a way to fix this, Jake said desperately. Medicine? Technology? Something. There is one way. Lyra stood, and despite her weakness, she seemed regal. The Forge of First Light. The place where my people were created. Only there can a dying star heart be reignited. But the Forge's location was lost when our civilization fell. I have only fragments, pieces of a map scattered in my memories. She touched Jake's hand, and he felt warmth spread through him. Will you help me, Jake Torres? Will you help me find the Forge before my star destroys us both? Jake welded the final piece of armor plating onto his ship's hull. Sweat dripped down his face, despite the cold vacuum just inches away on the other side of his workspace. He had spent the last 6 hours stripping parts from dead vessels and bolting them onto his small repair ship. It wasn't pretty, but it might keep them alive. Inside the ship, Lyra sat cross-legged on the floor, her eyes closed in concentration. Her chest light pulsed in strange rhythms. Images flickered in the air around her fragments of star maps. Coordinates that shifted and changed, pieces of a puzzle scattered across her dying memories. I see a nebula, she whispered. Shaped like wings, 3 binary stars orbiting each other. And beyond them, ... Darkness, a hole in space that swallows. Light. Jake climbed back inside and sealed the airlock. A black hole. The throne of shadows. My people built stations around it. Lyra opened her eyes, and Jake saw pain in them. But the path there is hidden. Protected. We must pass through. Arya's voice cut through the ship like a knife. Warning. Multiple vessels approaching. Configuration matches military assault class. ETA. 4 minutes. Jake's blood turned to ice. He ran to the control panel and checked the scanners. 3 ships, each 10 times the size of his small vessel, were dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Their hulls were black and sleek, designed for one purpose: hunting. Who are they? Lyra asked, standing beside him. Jake's jaw clenched. Consortium. Corporate scavengers. The worst kind. He had heard stories about them. They hunted alien technology across the galaxy, stealing it, weaponizing it, selling it to the highest bidder. They didn't care who they hurt. A communication signal forced its way through Jake's systems. A man's face appeared on the screen. He was middle-aged, with cold gray eyes and a smile that never reached them. Mechanic Torres. I am Commander Vex of the Consortium Acquisition Fleet. You have something that belongs to us. I don't have anything of yours, Jake said, moving to block Lyra from the camera's view. Vex's smile widened. The celestial girl we've been tracking. Her stasis pod's energy signature for 8 months. Do you have any idea how valuable she is? A living celestial with an active star heart. She's worth more than this entire scrapyard. Lyra stepped forward, her body beginning to glow with anger. I am not property. I am Lyra of the royal house, and I will not be taken. A princess, even better. Vex leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You will surrender peacefully. We will study your biology, learn how your star heart works, and advance human technology by centuries. You should feel honored to contribute, to progress. You mean you'll dissect her? Jake said quietly. Vex shrugged. If necessary. We're not monsters, Torres. If she cooperates, we'll make it quick. She doesn't? Well, we have 40 hours before she explodes anyway. Plenty of time for research. Jake's hand moved to the control panel. Arya, how many weapons do we have? 2 mining lasers. 1 electromagnetic pulse generator. 17 explosive charges, meant for breaking asteroids. That's not enough to fight 3 warships, Lyra said. I know. Jake's fingers flew across the controls, but it's enough to make them regret coming here. Vex's smile vanished. You're making a mistake, mechanic. Stand down, or we'll board your station by force. Jake cut the transmission and turned. To Lyra, can you do what you did in the memory vision? Make yourself glow brighter. Yes, but it will drain my star faster. I might not have enough energy left for the journey to the forge. If we don't get out of here, there won't be a journey. Jake grabbed her hand. Trust me. Lyra's chest began to glow like a miniature sun. Light filled the entire ship, so bright it hurt to look at. Jake connected her energy to the ship's power core, using cables meant for charging batteries. The ship screamed to life. Every system overloaded with power. The engines burned white hot. Arya, activate every defense we have. All at once, the consortium ships opened fire. Laser blasts tore through space toward Jake's station. But Jake was already moving. He released the explosive charges, sending them floating into the debris field. Then he fired the mining lasers in a wide spread, heating the charges until they detonated. The explosion was massive. Debris from 1,000 dead ships became deadly projectiles, flying in every direction. One consortium ship's shields collapsed. Under the barrage, metal screamed as wreckage tore through its hull. Jake didn't wait to see more. He aimed his ship toward the most dangerous region in the sector, the Shatter Zone, and opened the engines to full power. Lyra's star energy made them burn brighter than they were ever designed to. They shot forward like a comet, leaving the consortium ships scrambling in the chaos behind them. But through his rear cameras, Zeke saw Commander Vex's face on the surviving ship's displays. The man wasn't smiling anymore. He was furious. You can't run forever, Torres. Vex's voice crackled over the radio. I will find you. I will take her. And I will make you watch as we cut that star from her chest. Asterisk, the ship shook violently as gravity twisted in impossible directions. One moment Jake felt pressed into his seat, the next he was floating. His stomach lurched as up became down and down became sideways. This place is insane, Jake muttered, fighting with the controls. The Shatter Zone stretched before them like a nightmare made of broken worlds. Planets that had been ripped apart centuries ago hung in pieces, their cores still glowing red. Gravity wells formed and collapsed randomly, creating whirlpools in space that could tear a ship into molecules. Lyra gripped her seat, her face pale. The glow in her chest was dimmer now, flickering like a dying lamp. The energy burst she had given Jake's engines had cost her dearly. I can see them, she whispered. My people. They died here once, fighting a war I can't remember. Jake glanced at her. Since entering the Shatter Zone, Lyra had been seeing things. Ghosts of the past. Memories that weren't hers. The fragments of the star map were getting stronger, but so was her confusion. Arya, time remaining. 22 hours until stellar collapse. 22 hours. Less than a day to find a legendary forge that might not even exist. A chunk of planet the size of a city suddenly appeared in their path. Jake yanked the controls hard, sending the ship into a spin. They missed the debris by inches. Behind them, he heard a distant explosion. One of the consortium ships hadn't been as lucky. "They're still following us," Jake said in disbelief. "They're actually following us into this death trap. They want me that badly." Lyra coughed, and more light spilled from her lips. Her skin was becoming more transparent by the hour. Jake could see the star inside her chest now, a small sun burning itself out. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Rest," Jake said gently. "Save your strength. I can't rest. The memories are coming faster now." Lyra closed her eyes, and holographic images filled the cabin. "I see my mother. She had a voice like solar wind. She sang to me when my star was first placed in my chest." Jake watched the holograms. Tall, celestial woman with kind eyes held a baby Lyra whose chest glowed with fresh starlight. She told me that stars are not meant to live forever. They burn bright, they give light, and then they rest. Lyra's voice cracked. "But I'm not ready to rest. I'm only 300 years old. I haven't seen enough, done enough. I haven't lived." "You will live," Jake said firmly. "I promise." Lyra looked at him with those galaxy eyes. "Why are you helping me, Jake Torres? You don't know me. I'm not your responsibility. You could have left me in that frozen ship." Jake was quiet for a long moment. He guided the ship through another gravity well, his hands steady on the controls. Finally, he spoke. "5 years ago, I had a family, a wife, a daughter who was 7 years old." His voice was flat, emotionless. "We lived on a colony moon. Small place, peaceful. Then the life support systems failed, a malfunction. Something that could have been fixed if someone had been there to fix it." Lyra said nothing, just listened. "I was off-world when it happened, working on a distant station. By the time I got the distress call and traveled back, everyone was dead. The whole colony. 2,000 people suffocated because nobody knew how to repair a simple oxygen generator." Jake's hands tightened on the controls. "I became a salvager after that. Hid in the scrapyard, told myself I was safer alone. That I couldn't lose anyone if I didn't care about anyone." "But you care about me?" Lyra said softly. "Yeah, I do." Jake managed a sad smile. "Stupid, right? I spent 5 years running from connections. And then I find a dying alien princess in a ghost ship. And suddenly I'm risking my life again. It's not stupid. It's brave." Bravery and stupidity look the same from certain angles. Lyra laughed. And for a moment her glow brightened. Then she gasped, clutching her chest. "Jake, the memory? It's complete. I can see the full path now." The holograms shifted, forming a complete star map. It showed the shatter zone, then a route through dangerous space, leading to a massive black hole surrounded by ancient structures. "The throne of shadows," Lyra whispered. "The forge is inside it, hidden in the event horizon where nothing should survive." Jake stared at the map. Inside a black hole. "Of course it is. Why would anything be easy?" Arya's calm voice interrupted them. "Warning, consortium vessels have regrouped. 2 ships remaining. They are adapting their navigation to match our path through the shatter zone. ETA, 20 minutes. Jake looked at the black hole on the star map, then at Lyra's fading light. 22 hours until she exploded. 20 minutes until the consortium caught them. Arya, plot the fastest course to the Throne of Shadows. That course will take us through 3 unstable gravity wells and past a region where space-time itself is fractured. I didn't ask if it was safe. I asked for the fastest. The ship's engines roared to life, pushing them deeper into the shatter zone. Behind them, the consortium ships followed like hunting dogs that had caught a scent. The race was on. Asterisk the black hole filled Jake's viewport like a massive eye staring into his soul. It wasn't black at all, which was surrounded by rings of light being torn apart and consumed. Matter spiraled into oblivion, screaming as it died. The sound came through the ship's sensors as radio waves converted to audio that sounded like 1,000 voices wailing. "It's beautiful," Lyra whispered. Her glow was so dim now that Jake had to squint to see it. 16 hours remained. Around the black hole, ancient celestial stations floated in perfect formation. They were impossibly old, their surfaces covered in symbols that hurt to look at for too long. Each station was the size of a city, yet they hung in orbit around the event horizon without being pulled in. How are they staying in place? Jake asked, amazed. Stellar anchors. Technology my people created before they learned to fear their own power. Lyra pressed her hand against the window. The stations are holding themselves in place by manipulating gravity itself. But look closely, Jake. They're dying too. She was right. Pieces of the stations were breaking off, drifting slowly toward the black hole. Whatever technology kept them stable was failing after centuries of abandonment. Arya's voice was urgent. Consortium vessels emerging from hyperspace. Multiple weapon systems targeting our ship. Jake didn't have time to react. Laser fire streaked past them, so close that alarms screamed throughout the ship. He dove toward the nearest station, using it as cover. The station's ancient hull absorbed the blast meant for them. Commander Vex's voice crackled over the radio. "Nowhere left to run, Torres. Surrender the Celestial, and I'll let you live." "He's lying," Lyra said flatly. "I can feel his thoughts from here. He plans to kill you regardless." Jake wasn't surprised. He guided the ship into the shadow of the largest station, buying them seconds to think. Through the cameras, he saw the 2 consortium warships positioning themselves to cut off any escape. "Root, we need to find the gate ship," Lyra said suddenly. "The map in my memories shows it on the central station. A vessel designed by my people to survive passage through the black hole. It's our only chance. Can you walk?" Lyra tried to stand and immediately collapsed. Jake caught her, shocked by how light she had become. Her body was consuming itself, burning through mass to keep her star alive just a little longer. "I'll carry you." Jake suited up and prepared the airlock. "Arya, keep the consortium busy. Fire at anything that moves. I am a repair ship's AI. I am not designed for combat. Neither am I. We're all doing things we weren't designed for today." Jake launched himself from the ship into open space, Lyra in his arms. The stars wheeled overhead, and below them, the black hole pulled at everything with invisible hands. His suit's thrusters fought against the gravity, struggling to reach the station. Behind them, Arya fired the mining lasers. The beams were weak against military shields, but they were enough to make the consortium ships cautious. Jake's boots connected with the station's hull. He activated magnetic locks and began running across the surface, following the coordinates Lyra whispered in his ear. Then the station woke up. Panels opened in the hull around them. Ancient weapons emerged, machines that had waited 300 years for targets. They didn't fire on Jake and Lyra instead. They turned toward the consortium ships. "Defense systems," Lyra gasped. "They recognize my royal blood. They think they're protecting me." The ancient weapons opened fire. Beams of compressed gravity hit the consortium ships, crumpling their hulls like paper. One ship exploded instantly. The other, Commander Vex's flagship, managed to raise shields, but they were failing fast. Jake found the entrance Lyra indicated. The door was sealed, but when Lyra placed her hand on it, symbols glowed to life. The door opened with a sound like singing. Inside was a ship unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was organic and mechanical at once, its hull covered in patterns that resembled both circuit boards and vanes. At its heart was an empty chamber. Cradle meant to hold a star. Iowa said weakly, "It needs my star." Jake understood immediately. "No, if you power this ship, you won't have enough energy left to reach the forge. You'll die. If we don't power it, we can't reach the forge at all. We die anyway. There has to be another way." "There isn't." Lyra pulled herself from Jake's arms and stumbled toward the ship's heart. "Jake, listen to me. I've lived 300 years. I've seen wonders you can't imagine. If I die here, at least I die trying. But if you give up now, we both die for nothing." An explosion rocked the station. Commander Vex had landed his damaged ship nearby. Jake could hear cutting torches working on the outer hull. They had minutes at most. Lyra placed her hands on the star cradle. "Promise me something. If we make it to the forge, and I don't survive the re-ignition, ... promise you'll remember my people. Tell someone. Anyone. Don't let the Celestials be forgotten." "Lyra, wait." But she had already begun. Light poured from her chest into the ancient ship. The vessel came alive, systems that had been dormant for centuries activating one by one. The walls glowed with starlight. The engines hummed with power that bent reality. Lyra collapsed, her glow now barely visible. Jake caught her and carried her into the ship's control center. Behind them, Commander Vex and his soldiers broke through the door. The commander raised a weapon, his face twisted with rage. Jake slammed his hand on the gateship's controls. The vessel ripped free from the station and dove toward the black hole. The last thing Jake heard was Vex screaming in fury as the event. Horizon swallowed them whole. Everything went white. Then dark. Then colors that didn't exist. They were inside. Jake expected death. He expected the black hole to crush them into atoms, to stretch them across infinity, to end everything in a moment of impossible pain. Instead, he found paradise. The gateship emerged into a pocket universe that shouldn't exist. There was no darkness here, no stars dotting empty space. Instead, everything was made of light itself, oceans of it, flowing like water, crystallizing into structures that defied understanding. "Where are we?" Jake whispered, his voice filled with awe. Lyra could barely speak. Her chest light was almost gone, just a faint spark struggling to survive. The place, ... before places, where the first light, ... was born. At the center of this impossible realm floated the Forge of First Light. It was enormous, a cathedral built from constellation patterns. Its walls were made of captured starlight, woven together like fabric. Towers spiraled upward into infinity, each one holding what looked like infant stars in various stages of formation. Some burned red, others blue, some colors that Jake's eyes couldn't properly process. The gateship drifted toward the forge automatically, as if called home. Jake landed in a courtyard where the ground was solid light that rippled under his feet like water. He carried Lyra inside. She was barely breathing. Her skin had become completely transparent. Jake could see straight through her to the dying star in her chest. It pulsed once every few seconds, each beat weaker than the last. 13 hours, Lyra whispered. "I can feel it. Now the countdown. My star is screaming." The forge's interior was vast and empty. Pillars of light rose to a ceiling that seemed infinitely far away. In the center was a platform with 7 altars, each holding a sphere of contained star matter. Around the altars, holographic symbols floated in complex patterns. Jake laid Lyra on the central altar. Immediately, holograms appeared around them, instructions in the celestial language. The symbols moved and shifted, showing diagrams of bodies, stars, processes that Jake couldn't begin to understand. "I don't know how to read this," Jake said desperately. "Lyra, I need you to translate." Lyra's eyes opened slowly. She looked at the symbols and began to speak, her voice growing, weaker with each word. 3 components needed. First, stellar fuel from the contained stars. Second, quantum catalyst created using celestial synthesis technology. Third, stopped. Tears of light sliding down her transparent cheeks. Third, what? "Lyra, tell me a sacrifice. To ignite a new star heart, the old one must be given completely. And with it, ... all memories connected to the celestial people. Every memory of my mother, my father, my home, my civilization. They'll be burned as fuel for the new star." Jake stared at her in horror. "You'll forget everything, your entire past." "I'll forget who I was, what my people were. Every song, every story, every moment of love and beauty." Lyra's hand found Jake's. "I'll wake up empty, a stranger to myself. Then we find another way. There is no other way." Lyra's voice held. Steel beneath the weakness. The forge was designed by beings older than celestials. They understood that creation requires sacrifice. Light must consume darkness. New stars are born from the death of old ones. Jake felt tears burning in his eyes. This isn't fair. Fought so hard to survive, to remember your people, and now you have to forget them to live. Life is rarely fair, Jake, but it's still worth living. Lyra pulled herself into a sitting position with visible effort. "I need you to do something for me. I'm going to speak my memories aloud, all of them. Everything I can remember about my people, and you're going to record every word. Lyra, please, let me give you my past before I lose it. Then it won't truly be gone. It will live in you." Jake activated his suit's recording systems, his hands shaking. Lyra began to speak. She told him about her mother, who had a laugh like wind chimes made of light. About her father, the emperor, who wept when he realized his people were dying. She described celestial cities where buildings sang in harmony, gardens that grew flowers made of frozen time, festivals where her people danced in the coronas of suns. She spoke of first loves and childhood games, of lessons learned and mistakes made. She described the taste of nebula wine, the feeling of flying through asteroid fields, the sound of a star being born. Hours passed. The countdown continued. 9 hours, 8, 7. Finally, Lyra's voice faded to silence. She had shared everything. "Now," she whispered, "now we begin." Jake looked at the instructions again. He had to gather stellar fuel, create a quantum catalyst, using technology he barely understood, and prepare Lyra for a process that would erase who she was. He rolled up his sleeves and began to work. The forge's systems were ancient, but still functional. Jake moved from altar to altar, following Lyra's translated instructions, combining star matter in precise measurements. His hands worked steadily, despite his fear. Behind him, Lyra lay on the central altar, her light fading to almost nothing. Outside, the forge in the impossible realm beyond, something stirred. A damaged ship forcing its way through the black hole's gravity. "Commander." Vex had followed them into paradise, and he was not willing to leave empty-handed. The forge trembled as commander. Vex's damaged warship crashed through the pocket universes. Barrier alarms that hadn't sounded in 300 years suddenly wailed to life. The pillars of light flickered and cracks appeared in the constellation walls. Jake didn't stop working. His hands moved frantically across the celestial control panels. mixing stellar fuel according to the exact measurements Lyra had translated. One mistake, one wrong calculation, and the entire process would fail. 6 hours, Lyra whispered from the altar. Her voice was barely audible now. The star in her chest pulsed once every 30 seconds. Each beat a struggle through the forge's crystalline walls. Jake saw Vex's soldiers pouring out of their ship. 20 armed men in combat armor, led by the commander himself. Vex's face was burned on one side, his armor cracked and sparking. The journey through the black hole had nearly killed him, but he was smiling. Torres, Vex's voice boomed through the forge. You've led me to the greatest discovery in human history. Do you understand what this place is worth? The technology? Here could make Earth the supreme power in the galaxy. Jake activated the quantum catalyst chamber. The celestial symbols showed him how to align 7 different energy frequencies simultaneously. His hands trembled as he adjusted microscopic settings on equipment designed for beings with 6 fingers instead of 5. I'm not interested in your empire, Vex, Jake called back. Still working? Then you're a fool. Vex and his soldiers entered the forge's main chamber. Their boots echoed on the light floor. That girl is going to die anyway. At least let her death mean something. Let me study this process. Let humanity benefit from shut up, Lyra said softly, but her voice carried through the entire forge. Like thunder, she sat up on the altar, and though her light was nearly gone, her galaxy eyes blazed with royal authority. You speak of benefit, of progress, but you know nothing of sacrifice, nothing of the cost of creation. Vex raised his weapon. I don't need a lecture from a dying alien. I need results. He fired. The blast should have killed Lyra instantly. But the forge itself reacted. The altars around her flared too brilliant. Life, creating a shield of pure star matter. The laser bolt dissolved harmlessly against it. This place recognizes royal blood, Lyra said, standing now despite her weakness. It will protect me until the moment I give myself to the reignition. You cannot touch me here, human. Vex's smile disappeared. Then I'll destroy this entire structure. If I can't have the technology, no one will. His soldiers began placing explosive charges on the forge's pillars. Jake's heart raced. The quantum catalyst was almost ready, but he still needed to prepare the final component, the new star itself. According to the instructions, he had to shape raw star matter into an infant sun using harmonic resonance frequencies. It required perfect precision and absolute focus. He couldn't do it while fighting off soldiers. Lyra, Jake said quietly. I need time. I know. She looked at him with those infinite eyes. Thank you, Jake Torres. For everything. For remembering me. For caring when you didn't have to. For teaching me that being alone isn't the same as being safe. Don't talk like you're saying goodbye. We're both getting out of this. Lyra smiled sadly. She knew the truth. Even if the reignition worked, the person who woke up wouldn't be her. Not really. She would be someone new, someone without a past. She turned to face Vex and his soldiers. Her chest light flared one final time, drawing on the absolute last reserves of her dying star. Light exploded from her body, filling the entire forge with brilliance that forced everyone to shield their eyes in that moment of blindness. Jake worked with desperate speed. He shaped the star matter, his hands moving in patterns the holographic instructions showed him. The new star began to form a perfect sphere of nuclear fire. Small as a marble, but containing the energy of a sun, Vex's soldiers recovered and opened fire. But Lyra was no longer defending. She was attacking. Beams of starlight shot from her hands, melting weapons, fusing armor, sending soldiers flying backward. She was magnificent and terrible, a dying goddess spending her final moments protecting what mattered for hours. Arya's voice cut through the chaos. Lyra collapsed. Her star had nothing left. It flickered like a candle in a hurricane, seconds from going out entirely. Jake grabbed the newly formed star with magnetic containment fields. It burned in his hands, hot enough to vaporize anything organic. He ran to Lyra and placed her in the central altar's cradle. "Now, Jake," she whispered. "Before it's too late." Her star went out. Lyra's eyes closed. Her transparent body went still. For one terrible moment, she was dead. Jake slammed the new star into her chest. The forge exploded with light. Energy cascaded through every system, repairing damage, amplifying power, awakening functions that had slept for millennia. The explosion threw Vex and his soldiers backward, their bodies hitting walls with bone-breaking force. In the altar's cradle, Lyra's body arced upward. The new star ignited inside her, burning brighter than anything Jake had ever seen. Light poured from her eyes, her mouth, every pore of her skin. She screamed not in pain, but in rebirth. The old star's remnants dissolved, taking with them 300 years of memories. Images flashed around her like ghosts saying goodbye. Her mother's face, her father's voice. Cities of light, songs of her people. Each memory burned away like paper in flame. Then silence. Lyra's body settled back onto the altar. The new star pulsed strong and steady in her chest. Her skin solidified, no longer transparent. Glowing with healthy blue luminescence, her eyes opened. They were still filled with galaxies. But they looked confused. Lost, she sat up slowly, looking at her hands as if she'd never seen them before. She whispered, "Who am I?" Jake's heart broke, but he had made a promise. He knelt beside the altar and took her hand gently. "Your name is Lyra. You're the last daughter of the celestial, royal house, and I'm going to tell you everything about your people. Every story, every memory, everything you gave up to live." Tears streamed down Lyra's face, though she didn't know. "Why? Will you stay with me while I learn? For as long as you want me to." Behind them, Commander Vex groaned, trying to stand. Jake didn't even look at him. Lyra raised one hand, and a beam of starlight shot out, sealing Vex and his soldiers. Inside a cage of pure energy. "I don't know who you are," Lyra said coldly to Vex, "but I know you tried to hurt someone important to me. You'll stay there until we decide what to do with you." Jake helped Lyra off the altar. Together, they walked to the forge's entrance. The pocket universe stretched before them, beautiful and impossible. "What happens now?" Lyra asked. Jake pulled out his recording device, hours of her spoken memories, preserved forever. "Now we go home, and I teach you about the most incredible civilization the galaxy has ever known. Your civilization." Lyra leaned against him. Still weak, but alive. Truly alive for the first time in 300 years. "Will I like them? My people. You'll love them. They were brave and kind and beautiful, just like you." They boarded the gateship, leaving the forge behind. Passed back through the black hole, Jake began playing the recordings. Lyra listened to her own voice describing wonders she couldn't remember. Tears streaming down her face. She had lost her past to gain her future. But she wasn't alone, and sometimes that's enough. 6 months later, Jake's upgraded ship drifted through. A nebula painted in colors that had no names. Lyra stood at the viewport, sketching star patterns in a journal. She had filled 20 journals already, documenting everything Jake told her about the Celestials.